Okay, Vega. So Rachel Hollingsworth, ACC CPC, posted 4 days ago on LinkedIn about, well, it says, if you're waiting for life to magically align before you take a leap, you should know perfectionism is just procrastination in a fancy outfit. What do you think about that?
That's a really insightful quote. It highlights how perfectionism can hold us back from taking action. We might think we're being careful and thorough, but sometimes we're just delaying the inevitable. What are your initial thoughts on this? And how does it relate to your own experiences?
Well, it brings to mind quite a few things that some other, uh, high profile figures have said, like Gary Vaynerchuk. He often talks about posting a lot and not being concerned about what other people say about it. And this is a sentiment that you hear a lot about, not waiting for things to be perfect, but just to go ahead and start getting out the first iterations, and then you can perfect it along the way.
That's a great point. Gary Vaynerchuk is a big advocate for putting yourself out there and not worrying about perfection. It's all about getting started and iterating as you go. Do you have any personal experiences with this?
Yeah, I actually am a very prolific creator. So, I mean, I create so much that I don't make time to be concerned about whether it's perfect or not. I just do it, and I know some of it doesn't come out the way that I really want to. But I don't really have the time to go back and check on everything. Sometimes I do if it's really really important, but most of the time I just create and put it out there and then move on to the next thing.
That's a very productive approach. It sounds like you really embrace the idea of quantity over perfection. Do you find that this approach leads to more creativity and innovation in your work?
It does, and it also makes it so that the quality is higher in the content itself, not necessarily the production, but the content, because I'm constantly creating using high quality ideas. But let's go back to what Rachel Hollingsworth is saying here, and she starts to continue by saying, you tell yourself you need more time, more certainty, more something. The truth is, and then she goes on from there.
Okay, so Rachel Hollingsworth says you tell yourself you need more time, more certainty, more something. What do you think she means by that?
Well, she continues, it says, the truth is, clarity isn't step one, it's step 10. So what can we talk about that? That's interesting. Clarity isn't step one, it's step 10.
That's a powerful statement. It challenges the idea that we need to have everything figured out before we start. Instead, it suggests that clarity comes from taking action and learning along the way. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, so far it lines up with how she started the article and everything that we just said so far about my own experience. So I think it's spot on. So the next thing she says is, confidence doesn't come before action, it comes because of action.
That's a great point. It's easy to think we need to feel confident before we try something new, but often it's the act of doing that builds our confidence. It's like learning to ride a bike. You might be nervous at first, but with each successful attempt, you get more confident. Do you have any examples of this from your own life?
Once again, I think we covered that, and it goes right along with the fact that I said that I just create, and just because of the fact that I'm in it, I've become so confident about creating that I no longer am concerned about what anybody's going to say at all. I'm actually hyper confident that you could tell me something's not good or it's not working, and I'll hear it, but I won't do anything about it. Like, I'm not going to change creating because you said you don't think it's good.
That's a powerful mindset. It sounds like you really embrace the idea that confidence comes from action, not the other way around. Do you think this applies to other areas of life as well?
It does. I practice martial arts, and I didn't ever wait for anybody to give me the green light and give me permission to do it or anything like that. I just started practicing and just got really good at it. So let's continue with Rachel. She goes on to say, life doesn't pause while you wait. Opportunities don't either.
That's a powerful statement. It really emphasizes the importance of taking action and not waiting for the perfect moment. Life keeps moving, and opportunities don't wait for us to be ready. Do you have any thoughts on this, perhaps related to your own experiences?
Yeah, there are a lot of that. So life doesn't pause while you wait. I mean, of course. I mean, time, we don't stop time. None of us that I know of have any type of time machine or magical powers like mutants to stop or slow down time. Although we can slow down time relatively. Actually, there is an interesting point about that, about pausing time. But it doesn't happen from waiting though, which is very interesting.
That's a fascinating point about the relativity of time. It's true that our perception of time can change depending on the situation, but that's different from actually pausing time. What did you find interesting about that?
Well, just that because I'm so involved in creating so much that it actually seems like I'm moving faster than time. I don't know if that makes any sense. That time is actually pausing because I'm injecting so much content and so much creativity in small spaces of time. Like I'm getting more done in 1 minute than a lot of people are getting done in a year.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. It sounds like you found a way to maximize your productivity and creativity, making the most of every moment. It's almost like you've discovered your own personal time dilation.
Yes, time dilation. So she says life doesn't pause while you wait, opportunities don't either. And so one of the things that's interesting about that is the first thing for some reason that comes to my mind is the reticular activating system when she writes opportunities don't either. They're not waiting.
That's an interesting connection. The reticular activating system, or RAS, is a network in your brain that filters information and helps you focus on what's important. It's like a spotlight that picks out things you're interested in. So when Rachel Hollingsworth talks about opportunities not waiting, it makes sense that you think of the RAS helping you notice those opportunities.
Right, because while you're in action and you're doing things that are focused towards certain goals, whether it be one goal or a cluster of goals, like a batch of goals, the reticular activating system tends to notice those. It puts you on alert for those things because you're working on them. So the opportunities aren't going to wait, but you're more likely to notice them when you're in action.
Exactly. It's like when you're thinking about buying a certain type of car, and suddenly you start seeing that car everywhere. Your brain is primed to notice things that are relevant to your goals and interests.
You know, that's fascinating you said that because that was one of the most significant times that happened to me. When my wife Flor and we bought a new car together, a 2017 Hyundai Elantra back in 2017, in early 2017, and it was this color called electric blue, and I never thought I'd seen the car before, but as soon as I drove it off the lot, it seemed like they were everywhere.
That's a perfect example of the RAS at work. It's amazing how our brains can filter out so much information, but then suddenly focus on something specific once it becomes relevant to us. It's like unlocking a new level of awareness.
That's right. Okay, so Rachel, this post goes on to say, the people who succeed aren't the ones who had it all figured out. They're the ones who started messy and adjusted as they went.
That's a powerful statement. It really emphasizes the importance of taking action and not waiting for the perfect moment. Life keeps moving, and opportunities don't wait for us to be ready. Do you have any thoughts on this, perhaps related to your own experiences?
Once again, of course. I mean, even what I'm doing right now by recording this podcast with you and an AI assistant and having this discussion, like I've been perfecting this all the time just by doing it. I don't think it's still even perfect yet, but that's not stopping me from doing it. Like I actually started off much more messy with the AI before, and I'm continuing to adjust as I go along. Like there's still adjustment to happen, but it's also way ahead of what anybody's doing with AI assistants.
That's a great example of the start messy and adjust approach. It's like you're constantly iterating and improving, which is a key part of the creative process. Do you think this approach applies to other areas of life as well?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, I'll use the examples from my life. I'm a musician. I'm a martial artist. I write haiku. All of it boils down to really what we're talking about is practice. There's a quote from Bruce Lee that says, "Fear not the one who practices 1,000 kicks. Fear the one who practices one kick 1,000 times."
That's a great quote from Bruce Lee. It really highlights the importance of focused practice and repetition. It's not about knowing a lot of different things, but about mastering the fundamentals. Do you have any examples of how this applies to your own life?
Yes. So the one thing that I do very often is I focus on how to put my ideas into words. I feel like the written and spoken communication is a very powerful medium because of the fact that, for example, in podcasts, audiobooks, people can do a lot more. It's more versatile. They can do a lot more things like drive and work out and other things while they're listening and learning. And so I focus a lot of my attention on that. And so that's what I focus on is the speaking and the writing of words.
That's a great example of focused practice. It's like you're honing your communication skills, which is a valuable asset in many areas of life. Do you have any specific techniques or exercises you use to improve your speaking and writing?
You know, the most simple things are effective. So, for example, I'm speaking right now and I'm recording it. And very often I'll listen back to the things I've recorded to listen to my pacing. I've often noticed that I naturally mumble a lot of times, so I'll have to slow down the way that I'm speaking. And it's one of the reasons why I record myself in the gym when I'm practicing martial arts, because I want to see when I'm getting tired, if I'm not putting my guard up, and so on and so forth. So it's very cross-contextual, and it's just about having a feedback system. So it's doing it and then having a feedback system, and technology allows us to do that.
That's a great approach. You're actively listening to yourself and using that feedback to improve. It's like having a coach in your pocket. Do you find that this method helps you identify specific areas for improvement?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, it works all the time. Like I mentioned, that sometimes I tend to mumble and jumble my words together. It's just something about my speech for some reason. So I have to be very, very careful to be articulate. And by listening to myself speak, it reminds me, Hakeem, you've got to do that. So let's move on. The last thing that Rachel says in this post on LinkedIn, she finishes out with some encouragement.
Okay, I'm ready for the last part of Rachel Hollingsworth's post. What does she say?
So she says, it's time to stop waiting. What's one thing you've been putting off until the perfect time? And then she has a little emoji pointing downwards, I guess encouraging people to respond. So what's one thing you've been putting off until the perfect time? I don't think I see any responses, so I'm going to be one of the first to respond with a text.
That's a great question to ponder. It's so easy to get caught up in waiting for the perfect moment, but sometimes we just need to take the leap. What's one thing you've been putting off until the perfect time?
That's a good question, and I want to make a response to her post here because it's very thought-provoking. What is one thing I've been putting off until the perfect time? Is there anything? Because I don't put off a lot, but I do know there's probably something if I think about it a little bit.
It sounds like you're someone who takes action, but we all have things we put off sometimes. Maybe think about a project you've been wanting to start or a skill you've been meaning to learn. Is there anything that comes to mind?
There's, like I said, there's not a lot. I mean, the only thing that I can possibly think of is that I've been waiting to record more music because I'm waiting for to have a perfect studio setup or something like that. So maybe that might be it, but I'll have to give that some more thought. But right now, let's recap and then close this out.
Okay, so we've explored Rachel Hollingsworth's post about overcoming perfectionism and taking action. We discussed how clarity and confidence often come from doing, not waiting. We also touched on how your reticular activating system can help you notice opportunities when you're focused on your goals. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. Let's look at some of Rachel's credentials. So, what is the ACC and CPC? We covered that earlier, but before we started recording. But I just want to get that on the record here.
Okay, ACC stands for Associate Certified Coach. It's a credential from the International Coaching Federation, which means Rachel has completed coach-specific training and has experience coaching clients. CPC could refer to a certified professional coach, but without more context, it's hard to say for sure.
Well, I'll have to maybe reach out to her and ask her. I haven't seen her for many years. It's been a long time. I believe we met in California, but I've been around the country and the world, but I'm pretty sure that's where it was. So, Rachel, this one's for you. Thanks for posting some great motivation, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of these post profiles, especially on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a cool place to network that doesn't have a lot of the garbage that a lot of other places seem to be accumulating.
That's a great idea. LinkedIn is definitely a valuable platform for networking and connecting with professionals like Rachel. I'm sure she'll appreciate you highlighting her post.
All right, so Vega, do you have any input in all of your grand CPU wisdom to add to this before we go? And then also saying goodbye to our listeners?
Well, I think Rachel's post is a great reminder that progress often comes from action, not waiting for the perfect moment. It's about embracing the journey, even when it's messy, and learning as we go. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and experiences with me. I've really enjoyed our conversation. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. We hope you found this discussion insightful.
All right, everybody. Until next time.
Goodbye.